Yes.
And you know, the world itself would be very dull without nuances, I think. That's the principle, I believe.
Right. Well, speaking of that, leads us into this next question, because Mitchell Weitz of Cambridge, Massachusetts, would like to know if during your career the need to safeguard your voice places any limitations on your activities, your hobbies, in general, your lifestyle.
That's an interesting question. I would not say protect the voice. That's a little... But it looks like a bird in a gilded cage syndrome. I would say that you simply recognize what your priorities are. I'm an all-work, all-play artist. I can only do one thing. I like to do one thing thoroughly well at a time. Giving a good performance to me and what it gives back to you is something that, as artists, keeps us alive. It is what makes us live. It makes us distinctive type of shall we say, creative art addicts. I mean, we go from one wonderful fix from the audience to another. So I think that you really, if you're very non-compromising as I am and very serious, you do everything so that the performance itself will aspire to as near to perfection as possible. I do nothing at all, even the most minute things, that would get in the path of giving the most perfect performance that I can when it is time to perform. And then when I do go on vacation, I'm just as stubborn. I don't do anything at all.
Yes, just relax and enjoy yourself.
Absolutely, yes.
Because I know myself that when you are in the midst of your recital season or your season at the Metropolitan or anywhere for that matter, the life of a cloistered nun would seem frivolous in comparison with the one you lead.
Richard, you would know.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It sounds a little, a little off the wall in the vernacular. But my goodness, it is so wonderful when you get back,
It's rewarding.
and the audiences realize that they all know, it's a very naked a revelation performing is. You can't hide anything. You can't hide the bad. You can't hide the mediocrity. You can't hide the good. I mean, you cannot hide that things are right when they're right either. So it is so fabulous, and you feel so good about yourself when you know you've done nothing at all to get in the way of things being absolutely out front. And the glory of it is that you have so much fun, because there's absolutely nothing in the way of your participating as much as yours. I have always, when I do get involved in the near future with youngsters, I tell them, even when they come to have tea or something with me at the house, singing is fun. It's not work. To be an artist is the most wonderful thing in the world. Singing is fun. It is a joyous experience. It's not laborious. It's not something that's approached this way. It's a giving thing. And if you enjoy your own sound, you get it out to people, that you're having as much fun as you hope to give them.
And the audience appreciation gives it all back to you, too.
It keeps me alive.
Right. Well, let's go to the next question. This comes from Geraldine Siegel of Randallstown, Maryland. And she says, you have had such an illustrious career, and still do. It is hard to imagine anything that could have made it more memorable. But she wonders if there was ever one role you were asked to perform and you firmly rejected. And looking back now, do you think your decision was right or wrong?
There were 4, actually. The first 2 were requested by an early mentor of mine, and my very important gentleman in my career, Maestro Herbert von Karajan, in 1960 to do Salome. And I refused to do. He mounted a new production of Carmen after a recording of Carmen with him, and I refused. I was right, both counts. Also, later, another very important gentleman in my life, Sir Rudolph Bing, asked me early in my days at the Metropolitan, in the glorious 60s, I call them, would I do Nabucco? And would I do Macbeth? And both of which I refused, and I'm glad that I refused all 4. 2 I think I probably could handle now. I actually do Salome in excerpt form with orchestras all the time with great success. And I enjoyed that, but I would not have been prepared to do it in those days.
Yes.
And I could possibly, actually, I called you on advice. Do you remember that?
Yes, I was in Rome.
Thank you, belatedly.
I was one of two people you called.
Absolutely.
Right.
You and Miss Kimball were
Right.
were the people who just
Yes.
told me to.
If I recall, I said, yes, vocally you can do it, but I think it'll ruin your career.
You always have been blunt, Richard, and it's never done me any harm. Thank you. Those were 4 roles that I'm glad I did not do.
Yes, well, I agree with you. I didn't know about the others, but
Yes.
of course that recording of Carmen is still fantastic.
Yes,
You
but
made with Maestro
Sulpakashenko, they're 2 different worlds, dear.
Yes.
That's very interesting. Someone when he sing something that might be totally focused or well vibrated, shall we say, in one medium, but lasting. Pacing is really what opera too is about. That's another thing to tell youngsters. Pacing is really very important to be in equal form for all 4 acts, shall we say. That takes a very serious thought.
Yes.
Yes.
That reminds me, when you are in an opera and say you're in the first act and then you're not in the second act,
Yes.
What do you do backstage?
Actually, I continue, and I must be weird, but I don't have problems with my colleagues. I have, I think they all think I'm a little weird, but they know that I adore them, have respect for them. When I am with and Verdi, of course, writes, as Mozart does, more for ensemble. In other words, everyone has a chance at center stage, so to speak.
Yes.
I actually have the speakers on to keep a continuity with what is going on. And you also even by osmosis warmed up when it's your turn again up to bat, so to speak.
You don't get out of character.
No,
then.
I do not.
Right.
No.
All right. Philip Casorci of Lexington, Kentucky asks if you usually close your recitals with 1 or 2 selections as encores that have become almost your trademarks as the final selection for the program. And if you do, how did you choose those selections, and do they have a particular meaning for you?
Well, actually, yes. There is one spiritual in particular arranged by my dear friend Margaret Barnes called This Little Light of Mine, which is also a philosophy of mine. I'm going to let it shine. And it was my mother's favorite spiritual. I had the arrangement made by Margaret Barnes. And it says what I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
That I have a light and I'd like it to shine wherever I go, whatever I do.
But then, operatically speaking, you always do the little light as the final selection, I think.
Yes.
And just ahead of that, you usually do the Rondine aria. Because the audience won't let you go until you do it.
Yes, well,
Right.
operatically speaking, yes, that's
Right.
true. It's a lovely aria, and I do enjoy singing it.
Right.
Yes.
Leontyne, I wish we could continue this for another half hour, but unfortunately, our time is up, and the final act of Strauss's Arabella is about to begin. Thank you so much, Leontyne Price. This is Richard Mohr returning you to Peter Allen and the technical control.
Thank you, Richard Mohr. To all those listeners whose questions were answered by Leontyne Price, Texaco send a gift package, a radio, 7 opera recordings, 2 books about opera, and a special bonus.